Welcome back to a new video. So this one's going to be a bit rambly. As you see, it is a bit longer, and that's because it's my full week of training after my competition. So the first workout of the week was on Sunday, and then it progressed all the way through the current day that I'm living is Saturday, and you'll be seeing this video on Sunday. So obviously won't include the Sunday workout. But the only day that I didn't train was Friday, which it's hard to say that I didn't technically train because I went out and I did a ton of stretching my shoulder. So at my competition, the third snatch that I did injured my left shoulder, which isn't altogether unsurprising because it's been an issue for a while, not necessarily in pain, but as far as pressing out on that side. And that 130, when I missed it and the weight was being, pushing my arm down, I felt a bunch of crackling in my shoulder. And I don't think it's any sort of crazy serious thing, seeing how I was able to do a lifetime PR clean jerk right after that, and kind of how it's been feeling this week. So right after doing it, my shoulder got really sore and tight, and so I hadn't really, or I guess you'll kind of see as the video progresses, that my mobility is starting to come back in my shoulder, and I've made some adjustments as the week goes on, and really I've just been doing a lot of mobility work, and you'll see some of the, or not, mobility work, true, but also like just shoulder direct work with some hypertrophy work, which you'll see some of that sped up, some of the accessory work that I did since I just threw that into this video, just because I already had the clips there and made life easy. The week as I moved on, like I said, my shoulder got a bit better and it's felt the best on this current day. So I think it will be fine in a week or so. At least it'll be good enough for normal training. So I'm not really able to do a ton of overhead work just in general, which is obviously something I want to be able to do, but I just kind of have to make modifications. And honestly, like at this phase of training, I don't have any competition planned for months and months and months, so I'm not really that worried about it. And seeing how things are progressing with it, even with 1 week, and still trying to do snatches and stuff. The first time I did snatches this week, 80 kilos felt pretty uncomfortable, and then by the end of the week, 80 felt all right, and then 90 was the uncomfortable weight. And I made some adjustments with my width grip. I spread that out a little bit, which should help with the shoulder mobility a little bit, and it'll probably just be more efficient for me to do that. It's not necessarily collar to collar, but it's pretty close, and that's probably just a better position for me to be in. I had originally, and I always bring it in if my wrists start to have issues or if I'm trying to have more stability in the shoulder, but if the mobility is limited, it's easier to have your arms a little bit wider. But I do want to get back to doing obviously a lot of overhead stuff because I want to get good at snatch push presses, just hit a lot of that volume because I know that's going to be a big thing that will help me build lifts, but also just doing things like this. I'm doing a lot of pulls, and just strength work in general would be good to do. I do clean pulls later in this week, but just doing a lot of snatch pulls I think will be good as well. And one adjustment that I've made and I'm kind of experimenting with all my lifts is just having a higher hip starting position on the pull, and doing that will hopefully keep the bar closer to my leg and prevent me from pushing the bar away from myself when I start to pull. Because I was noticing that with some of my competition snatches, is that when I was setting my hips down before I started the pull, I pushed the bar away, which of course is going to make things a lot more inconsistent. So I'm trying to do that to kind of adhere to how my body's built. Like I'm built for pulling, so obviously my hips should be a little bit higher than the average person, but also it will allow me to hopefully have a better bar path. So just doing a lot of pulls will be good as well. I don't know how aggressive, well, it's only the first week, so I'm just trying to get a feel of how I want these days of training to go and how I want things to feel. And I believe, so yeah, here's some, you can see the discomfort that I have bringing the bar down. It actually doesn't bother me a terrible amount to have the bar above my head, but it's bringing it down. That like midpoint is where things are the most uncomfortable. And this is obviously sped up. I don't do these this fast, but I got the 1 kilos and essentially just went through this circuit and tried to get as much hypertrophy in my shoulders as I could. Just went through, I think, 4 different exercises. And the reason I don't do like glute raises is I feel that they work my traps and they don't really work my directly on my shoulders enough, or they kind of just work, like I said, trapezius and all of that fun shenanigans. And I don't really feel that it's really beneficial for me to do. I don't think my traps are really that weak particularly, but I also feel it in my shoulders more when I'm thinking more, or I'm looking more at like lateral raises. That's why I don't do like crazy high on those, because I feel it better when I have it a bit lower with it. That I'm not limited in that range of motion. I can, but I just don't feel it in my shoulders once I go crazy high with it, which is kind of the point of doing these exercises. But besides the lifting stuff, so you'll see, I'll try to talk about stuff, as stuff pops up, but this video is going to be 21 minutes, so we got some time to cover lots of different things. And one of the reasons I didn't edit all of these workouts as the week went on is really first is like I was just kind of frustrated with my shoulders, and this is also a strategy that kind of jumped back into the workouts, but I was frustrated with my shoulders, my left shoulder, and it just not feeling good and not being able to go through the range of motion, because I still feel good. Like I don't feel like I need time off from training. But what I did there, as you saw, like I did all that shoulder stuff and then went and did some, snatch behind the neck, pressing behind the neck with a snatch grip. And I noticed that it felt better, which tells me that it's probably not some sort of crazy joint issue. It's probably just, some sort of muscle strain or, a pulled muscle that I have in my shoulder, which slowly, as I'm bringing my arm up just here as I'm recording this, it's already feeling better. It's definitely really uncomfortable the first couple days, but I'm very glad I did it and I was able to get through the competition. I would have been very frustrated. I was very concerned when it happened at the competition that I wouldn't be able to do clean jerks, but it hasn't bothered me at all doing cleans, front squats, or doing jerks. Oddly enough, I don't really know why. I had to think a little bit early in the week with jerks, or maybe it was like the transition between the front squat to like the jerk grip. A little bit in like that transition when you're like flipping your hands around, but holding it above my head in the jerk felt fine and throughout the week, which is very odd. And that's why later in the week you'll see me do a heavy power clean, just because of the fact that my shoulder isn't bothering me for that. So just modifications for now, and of course I want to do more volume than this and go heavier and whatnot in the snatch, but I got to get my body feeling better. This is actually probably one complex that I'll do a lot. Not necessarily the power snatch, but to do the snatch pull plus snatch. I think that'll be good, especially if I'm trying to mess with my starting position to kind of get extra practice with that hip starting position being a bit higher, and then immediately practicing that with the full lift. And of course, just getting more volume in. I mean, there's lots of different pulling complexes you can add to the main lifts to get some good lifts or get some good volume into your training. But really, like until I'm confident in my shoulder feeling good for more volume in the training, the focus, or at least the majority of the volume that I'm gonna get in my training, is just going to be squats and pulls and accessory work. I'm gonna obviously still try to do the lifts and go do them frequently, but I'm not gonna be doing doubles and triples with the snatch or with jerks anytime soon, or at least I would say probably for another week. Based on the progress that my shoulder's making, I think it's making pretty good progress forward. But I got sidetracked there. So one of the reasons I didn't edit, besides me being frustrated with my shoulder, the videos during the week as they were happening, is that school got really confusing again. So my potential job for next year has changed now 3 different times. The first change was earlier in April, I think. It's all kind of a whirlwind at this point, but earlier, I would say, let's say April, like mid-April, I was told I was going to move up to be a phys ed teacher at the junior high in our school district. And that was because they were just cutting people in different positions and moving people around. So I was going to be moved up to the junior high. And I don't know I think they're going to go to having one person at my building for phys ed for all the special areas. So they were limiting one of the positions, and then my positions were going to move up to the junior high. So I was going to be at a new building, new grade level, all of that. And I had come to terms and was actually kind of looking forward to being up at a larger building, a larger gymnasium, and just being able to do the one grade level that I haven't actually done too much with, because all my teaching has been 1 through 6. And when I was student teaching, it was 9 through 12. So like that gray band is the only one I haven't. And so I was like, well, I'll be up at the high school, junior high school. It's like one big building. It's like I'll get out earlier. It's like I was fine with it. I was going to be able to make the adjustment. But then the district decided to realign the buildings. And so it went from, we have 2 elementaries and a high school campus, and it was changed to where the junior high slash high school campus was going to be just the high school, and then the building that I'm at now was going to be the middle school, and then the other elementary building would say elementary, and they would change the grade levels that were there. So then my position and this is the current position that I have officially right now, was going to be middle school phys ed, and the phys ed was going to be at the current building that I'm at now, but the grades, were all changed. So the building was going to drastically change. So as a result of this kind of big, massive change, and me not really being confident in the space that I have, like the literal amount of space that I have with the amount of students I would have, because with all the cuts that our school is doing, there's going to be larger class sizes, and all the stuff you can imagine when you have less teachers, bigger classes, and all of that fun stuff. But I didn't really feel confident in having enough space in the gymnasium that I'm in, because it's an elementary size gymnasium, so it's not like a full size high school gym. It's pretty good size, like we have it split in half right now, but once you have more than 20 kids, especially in the 5th and 6th grade level, you start to run out of space pretty quick, and it gets pretty cramped. And having 7th and 8th graders in there, just being larger people, and then having more students than what I would typically have in a class, it's an average of 25 from what we've been told. So it could be more than that, because it's an average, not a limit. And so the thought of having that was I don't know if I want to deal with that. And so I had talked with the principal about moving to the other elementary to go back to special ed. So maybe some of you haven't been following me for a long time, but when I started teaching, I was a special ed teacher for 4 years. The technical name of the position is intervention specialist, but it means the same thing. It's just that's what the position is called, but it is special education. And I had asked to go back to there because I wanted to be in what I viewed as a better situation for myself at that other elementary. That would be grades 1 through 4, and just kind of know what's going on, because that was the big thing now, is just even though I was told middle school phys ed, there's a whole bunch of things with schedule that I don't really want to get into nitty gritty of that, because it's not really that interesting, but it's just a lot of scheduling issues between the two buildings, and the specialists and everything. And it was easier for me, at least in my brain, to say, all right, just go to special ed. I've done it before. I know I'm going to be 1 through 4, one of those grade levels. And that building, I've already taught in it, because the other elementary is where I did my special ed teaching. When I transferred within the district to phys ed, I moved to the other elementary, and both buildings are exactly the same. They're clones of each other, so it's not a very difficult transition to go from one building to the other, because everything's in the same spot, which is very convenient. So I had asked for that, and I was going, the principal was all fine with that. Usually this school districts are looking for more intervention specialists than not, so it wasn't something that was going to be a hard fought thing for me to do. Going to phys ed is always more difficult, because those are much more competitive jobs than intervention specialists. There's usually just more openings for that, and more availability. I mean, you're going to have 2 phys ed teachers at the most in our building, and you're going to have, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 intervention specialists in the building. So there's just, more positions potentially available in general. So when I talked to him about going to the other elementary where he was going to be the principal at, to be an intervention specialist, he was happy about it, and had to talk to people to confirm that, or at least get the ball rolling in that regard. And earlier this week, he was like, I asked him for an update. He's like, you'll hear for sure on Friday, but it's looking really good. And the reason why he couldn't say anything till Friday is the school board had a meeting on Thursday, and our district is in a fiscal emergency, and we're being run by the state. So we had a state commission that came in and was talking to our superintendent and whatnot. And the the short version of the story, because that's more things I don't want to get into the nitty gritty, and the opinions, more just the facts. But the realignment was shelved. I don't think it's canceled entirely, but it's tabled until this next Thursday, the May 16th, when they have the next board meeting when they'll discuss it. And so currently it's not happening because the state commission has to approve any thing that happens in the district that costs more than $5,000, and that the moving of all the realignment would obviously cost more than that within the whole district. And so they disapproved it at that current meeting, and they're going to discuss it again at the 16th meeting. So the reason to give you that whole spiel is I'm currently 7 and 8 middle school, but if the realignment doesn't occur and the buildings stay how they are, then I would stay in my building as the phys ed in elementary 1 through 6. And then there's lots of things that get confusing with that as well. Because of the cuts of the teachers, there becomes a lot of confusion with that as well. But that's not really something that I can really dive into because there's just too much unknown, and it would be not really proper, or really I'm not really able to go into details of that because it's too confusing. I'd be talking in circles too much because I don't know, and I don't think anybody can really know right now until next Thursday. But essentially my official position next year is middle school phys ed. I don't know if that's going to turn into staying at the current position that I'm doing right now at elementary phys ed, or go back to intervention. And it's been switched, from my current position to middle school phys ed to intervention to back. So Thursday should give me a lot. So if you made it this far in the video and the 16th, spam my comments on the 16th asking me how the meeting. You'll have to do it probably Friday because the meeting will be in the evening. So if you kind of wait till 8 o'clock my time, you'll probably be able to get an update from that. But I don't know if it will give me a definitive answer, and I think that's the thing that I'm worried about the most is we're going to get more questions than answers, and that's been the issue that we've had lately. It's most people can handle bad news and you can cope with it, but when it's unknown and you don't know whether it's going to be good or bad, and it could be drastically different things, then it becomes very stressful in that regard. Thankfully, it is the end of the school year next year, or next week is it's not even a full week because we don't have school on Monday, but next week we have 4 days, and then the week after that there's 2, and then unless something changes, it should be just those 2 days, and then we're done. And by done, students are done, the teachers are there for the rest of the week, because if we are realigning and I'm moving to the other elementary, we're obviously going to have to move our stuff and pack things up, because I think we don't have to move our own stuff. I probably just would, because I don't have a ton that I would move, and I'm going to have to kind of go to that building anyway to set up my classroom if I do have one, and just it's a whole thing to figure out. So it's I don't know. And it's also kind of funny because I got some emails about signing up for special education training for next year. So I think it was really in the works that I was going to make that switch over to there. And I signed up for some Orton Gillingham training, which is just reading training to do over the summer, because I was I might as well do it if I'm going back to special ed. So I might be doing that as a phys ed teacher, but that's all all over the place. But I'm also starting my master's still this summer in physical education, regardless of any of this happening. So that should not negatively impact, because once you have enough educational hours for your master's, you get more money as a teacher, at least in the state of Ohio, with how our contract works. But me doing it in phys ed isn't going to impact me getting higher steps or higher levels on the contract, because I am certified as a phys ed teacher, even if I am not currently teaching in that role. I think the only time I'd have an issue is if I would get a master's in, I don't know, exercise science would probably actually be fine. Something completely unrelated like computer science that I don't have any teaching certification in. But phys ed, physical education, obviously relates to the licensure that I have. So I think that's the only requirement, but something I may have to double check as I go on. But either way, I'll still probably do the master's, and then if they give me grief about it, then I suppose that's something I'll have to figure out later. But I don't, from everything I've heard, I don't think it should be an issue with that. All the issues that I could have next year, I don't think that would be one of them. But just 2 classes of that in the summer, and then 2 in the fall and 2 in the spring. And University of Arkansas has a pretty good system so far, at least for like payment and stuff. It was just under $3,000 for two through credit classes, so not too bad. It's pretty cheap relative to other colleges that I've seen, and I get the in-state tuition, even though I'm in Ohio, of course, and not in Arkansas, because all of the classes are online. So I'm looking forward to starting with those and seeing how difficult they are, and if I can add more additional courses to the fall or to the spring, if that's going to be conceivable, because the quicker I get it done, the quicker I move up the steps, and the quicker that I can make more money. And the more money you make, obviously, the better, especially if it's going to be doing the same job that you would otherwise be doing. And yeah, but there, it's just a lot that is up in the air right now, and I'm glad that I still lifted well the competition, that my shoulder thing didn't impact clean and jerks, that the stress, because all this is happening while I'm preparing for the competition. And I'm glad at least too that it's at the end of the school year, and we're not like dealing with this in December or February, or one of those like cold, dreary months. It's at the end of the year. We're able to go outside with a lot of the classes. We're able to, everything's just more relaxed at this time of the year. So it's good with that. But hopefully there's more answers as this week progresses, as we get closer to that May 16th date. And who knows? I've looked around to see, what's potentially available outside of my current position, and I haven't heard anything from there, but it's still pretty early in that process. So there's also that potential, and it's something that I don't really want to do. I like the current job that I have, so my preference is that not, the realignment doesn't happen. I can stay as a phys ed teacher in the elementary building, and the realignment doesn't happen in that regard. So I do want to try to go to the board meeting. That's going to be Thursday, and I think there'll probably be a lot of people that will express a similar sentiment, because a lot of people kind of felt that way with the realignment and being disagree with it. But this is the last lift I did here this Saturday. I actually went to my friend's. It's kind of a bachelor's party, but we just went to a couple different breweries after this and tried out some different places to see what he would want to get for his wedding. And so I enjoyed some adult beverages throughout the day, which was quite nice, because I don't partake in that very frequently, particularly before a couple weeks before a competition. You kind of dial everything in as much as you can, as far as being relatively healthy, still eating enough, but not doing things that are going to impact negatively recovery. But that 184.5, that's something that I was kind of envisioning potentially being like a 5-rep max on Saturdays, and then using that to drive my Monday squat sessions, where I'm doing sets of 5 and just kind of building it how I did with triples before, but doing it with sets of 5, since I'm not really near any sort of competitions, and just trying to build the squats up and legs and all of that good stuff. But I've had a lot of good squatting lately, so I kind of want to continue that momentum, and even the front squats went well this week. And I don't think I mentioned, this will be the last thing, since I do have some blank space and the video is already 20 minutes long, but with the drop sets on the front squats, I went up to 150, and then I went back down to 110 to do more volume work. Triples seem to feel pretty good on there, because once I get above triples, my front rack starts to get compromised, and I just start to have issues with my wrists and stuff with keeping that in a good position. But I added straps on the drop sets, and so I did the sets as I built back up with straps on, and I kind of used that to stretch everything out and hopefully like challenge myself to stay in a better front rack position. Certainly it's not something I'm going to do on all my front squats, because it's not hyper comfortable, of course, but something that I think on some drop sets will be good to do, just to work on as much mobility as possible. Because as finished my competitions, I finished my competition singular, I want to do a lot of accessory work, of course, and a lot of mobility work, and that's certainly one that is very possible. But there's more I can talk about, but I'm gonna stop there, since we're at the end of our time, or at least the end of the clips here, and God knows I had enough of them in this video. But if you made it this far, I do appreciate it, and you can ask me next Friday what the conclusion is, or if I have any updates about that, and maybe I'll know what I'm doing next year, or maybe I'll just have more questions, which, based on how things have been going so far, it's probably just going to be more questions about everything. But hopefully not. Hopefully there's some answers. But with that being said, I'll talk to you all in the next video, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.